Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about Nashville SC in the Moving Forward series episode. And really, for Nashville, you can pretty much break their season into three different parts. Where in part one of the season, the first half of the season, it was relatively good. I mean, they start off well, and at times they were considered to be a contender in the Eastern Conference, but they definitely hit a rough patch as we're about to begin Leeds Cup. And then the second part of the season, where in the Leeds Cup run, I don't think any Nashville fans realized that they were going to make it all the way to the final, and that they were literally a penalty shootout away of beating Inter Miami, a team that it feels like that was the team of destiny with Messi and his friends completing the Hollywood script of them winning the competition. And then after the Leeds Cup is over, yeah, that's when the collapse happened. And again, I feel like it was very similar to what we saw in 2022 with the New England Revolution after suffering a heartbreaking loss to Pumas in a CONCACAF Champions League two-legged affair where they just never recover from it. For Nashville, they just never recover from that Leeds Cup final heartbreak. Though I will say that as much as they had that collapse in the second half of the season post League Cup break, because of the fact that they did relatively well in the first half of the season, and mainly because the team near the bottom part of the Eastern Conference are just terrible. Though in general, they still were able to make it to the playoffs by default. But nevertheless, they did finish with a 13-10 and 11 record and finished with 49 points. They only scored 39 goals. And again, goal scoring has always been a problem for Nashville SC. I mean, there's really no real goal scoring on this team that is not named Hani Mukhtar. And once again, it was the issue. But one thing that was also a strong point for Nashville this season, as always, is their defense. They've only conceded 32 goals. It's one of the best defensive record in the league. In fact, I think that's probably the best defensive record in the Eastern Conference, if I'm not mistaken. And they have a goal differential of +7. They finished seventh in the Eastern Conference, but they were eliminated by Orlando City in the first round, and certainly Orlando City got their revenge in terms of beating Nashville in the first round, since Nashville, of course, beat Orlando City just a couple of years ago in the first round matchup. Now, in terms of head coach and chief soccer officer, it's pretty much the same thing. Gary Smith is still the head coach of this team. He's been there since 2017, whereas for Mike Jacobs, he's still the chief soccer officer of this team since 2017. Although, there are starting to become some discontent in the Nashville fan base about both of those guys, and that there are some Nashville fans are started hating on Gary Smith, mainly because of the lack of tactics that he used, which I'll of course get to. And then of course Mike Jacobs. I mean, yes, he has had some hit in terms of some of the signings that he's made, but he also have been pretty much making a lot of dud signing too, especially on the attacking end. Speaking of the attacking end, the top goal scorer, unsurprisingly, really for the fourth consecutive season, Hani Mukhtar leads the team with 15 goals, followed by Fafa Pico with 5 goals, Teal Bunbury with 3 goals, Randall Leal with 3 goals, and Jacob Schaffelberg with 3 goals. I don't know if you can quite tell, my voice is definitely still not 100%. It's been having problems for the last couple of days. But in terms of top assist leader, it's also Hani Mukhtar with 11 assists, followed by Daniel Lovitz with 5 assists, Shaq Moore with 5 assists, Dax McCarty with 3 assists, and Alex Mule with 3 assists. By the way, Dax McCarty no longer a Nashville SC player after they decided to let him go this offseason, and he is now with Atlanta United as a free agent. And the same goes with Fafa Pico, who there is. Well, actually, no, he's still a Nashville SC player, but there's a lot of rumors that it seems like he is going to be moving on. I think Colorado is the team that they're trying to sign Fafa Pico, so it seems like he's probably going to be on his way out of this Nashville SC team. Now, when you look at the 4 seasons that Nashville SC have played, well, in the 4 seasons that they play, I mean, they've been consistently a team that make it to the playoffs. Last season, they finished in 7th place with 13, 10, and 11 record, finished with 49 points. In 2022, they finished 5th with a 13, 11, 10 record with 50 points. In 2021, they finished 3rd with a 12, 18, and 9 record, finished with 54 points. And then in 2020, in their inaugural season, they become the 7 expansion team to make it to the playoffs in their expansion season, finishing in 7th place with an 8, 8, and 7 record and finished with 32 points. And that was also a season where they broke multiple records, being the first expansion team to win multiple playoff game in an expansion season since the Chicago Fire did back in 1998 when they went all the way and ended up winning MLS Cup, and there was a lot of discussion that that was going to be a possibility for that Nashville SC team in 2020. Obviously, it didn't happen. They eventually lose out to the eventual champion of that season, that is the Columbus Crew in 2020. Now, in terms of average attendance, 28,257, which is good for fourth in the league. Nashville has always had great attendance. Though I will say that as much as I know Nashville fans are very passionate about their team, and especially when Geodis Park is full, you better believe that is one of the best atmosphere in the league. I still will say that they definitely built Geodis Park way too big. I mean, having the largest soccer specific stadium in Nashville, I didn't think that was going to be a place to do so. I thought there would be other places that, especially in a bigger market, that would have a larger soccer specific stadium. And there are times where it is hard for Nashville to fill the whole stadium, even if they're averaging like 27 or 28,000, so forth, because of how they build it. And also, when we see some of these lesser competition, especially midweek games, yeah, you can definitely see a lot of empty seats in the upper deck. And I know when they designed the stadium and the pattern that they made is kind of used as an illusion to basically show that there's actually not as a lot of empty seats. There's actually a lot of fans there. I think when you look closely, you can clearly see that there is definitely a lot of empty seats. And again, this is where the problem goes, where I do think that as passionate that Nashville fans are, and as big of a fan base that Nashville SC fans have, it's probably not big enough to regularly fill in the 30,000 Geodis Park that they decided to make as the largest soccer specific stadium. Now, in terms of MVP, it's Hani Mukhtar, and I don't really need to explain it because that's been pretty much the 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 lock MVP for Nashville SC every single season. And then disappointment, I'm actually going to kind of go a little bit of a lazy route, which is, usually I know that there are a couple of players that I could easily nominate, but here I'm just gonna say pretty much any attacker that is not named Hani Mukhtar. I mean, this has just been the problem for Nashville, really ever since they came to the league, where they just don't have a legitimate attacker that is not named Hani Mukhtar. The closest I would say is probably CJ Sapon, where there was one year where CJ Sapon was really lighting it up in terms of goal scoring, and then he fell off the cliff. And the same goes for Randall Leao. When his first season with Nashville, he was definitely doing very well, but then nowadays he's not really doing so well, and really kind of fell off the cliff. In terms of young players to watch, again, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a lazy route and say that really no one I can name are a young player to watch. I mean, Nashville is a team that they don't usually play their youngster. Gary Smith usually don't play with youngsters very often. He usually like to stick with almost the same starting 11 and put his veterans out there. And also, when you look at this Nashville SC team, there's really not any player on this roster that are are relatively young players. And even with some of the younger players, I can't say that they show a lot of promise or even got some playing time because of the way that they're so far down in the depth chart. So in the end, I would say that really there's no one in this Nashville team that I can consider to be a players that we need to watch and a revelation for this upcoming season. But what went right for this Nashville SC team? So Hani Mukhtar, of course, he is still the king of Nashville. If you just don't look at what happened at the post League Cup leg, or even if you just don't look at his numbers in June, because in the beginning of the season, Hani Mukhtar was definitely going nuclear again, and it was kind of almost the same thing in the Leeds Cup. Although I will say that in the Leeds Cup, one of the big difference of why Nashville started to be really good is because there actually is guys that is able to carry Honey Mukhtar in terms carry the low off of him, and that guy is got to be Sam Surge. I mean, Sam Surge had an incredible League Cup run to a point where I fought for him a long time. Nashville finally found a guy that was the guy to figure out the long long big question mark with the number 9 position. But as we know, what happened after Sam Surge post League Cup, and really what happened after this entire Nashville team in the post League Cup, they pretty much were nowhere to be found in terms of their quality play. And then of course the unexpected Leeds Cup final run. I mean, again, I don't think any Nashville fans would have expected how good they were in terms of making it all the way to the final. And again, they came so close in terms of spoiling a destiny run that Inter Miami has had. In fact, they had a long PK show in that round too, but Fortunately, they just weren't able to get the job done, and that it's also, you could say that maybe the League Cup and Apple TV is just almost praying that Inter Miami don't spoil it in the penalty kick shootout, because they know that they need this movie ending script. They need to create this documentary that they did about Messi, and they hope that it ends in a happy ending with them winning the whole thing, and that's exactly what happened. So unfortunately, Nashville, you're basically just get used as almost a sacrifice in terms of completing of what would be a great script of Messi coming to the U.S. And then of course the defense, it is still strong. Although I will say that the defense have definitely shown some crack this season, especially in the second half of the year, and maybe part of that has to do with fatigue, which I think fatigue may be a big factor of why this Nashville SC team kind of collapsed in the second half of the season. And this also goes back to where, Gary Smith, he tends to not like to rotate his roster. I mean, he eventually does maybe give some of the depth players a chance, but not as much as he should be. And that's maybe kind of one of the criticism I think Nashville SC has with him, the fact that they're playing so many competition that it feels like Gary Smith could have at least give the deaf players a couple of chances in terms of, so at least freshening the legs, and definitely give some rest to some of the starters on this team. Though I will also say that, as I'll talk about in a bit, I think there maybe is a reason why Gary Smith decided not to trust his depth, especially the depth chart of this Nashville team. Yeah, there are a lot of players on that depth chart that are not only not even considered to be MLS quality, but they're probably nowhere near in terms of the quality that we're able to still get Nashville a win, even if they put their depth piece guys. And in other words, basically there's a huge fall off when it comes to the starters of this team and some of the depth pieces that they had in this team. So what went wrong for this team? Again, the post League Cup collapse that they had, and if it wasn't for them just picking up enough points in the first half of the season, they probably would have missed the playoffs in general. And then of course for the fourth year in a row, just no help for Hani Mukhtar. I mean, there's just nobody able to take the goal scoring off of Hani Mukhtar. At least early in the season, it looked like Fafa Pico was going to be that guy, but then Fafa Pico probably got the CJ Sapon syndrome, where what happened and the first half of the season is not going to be replicated in the second half of the season. He goes on a cold run after that, and that as a result, Hani Mukhtar is pretty much the guy that is carrying this team. And when he can't carry this team anymore, and that his back is pretty much completely broken from carrying his team in the second half of the season, that's where you get the post League Cup collapse, and goal scoring was nowhere to be found for this Nashville team in the second half of the season. And then of course I think the other reason why they might having problem in terms of goal scoring, besides not having a real playmaker and goal scorer that is Hani, not named Hani Mukhtar, is that they're still too one-dimensional in terms of tactics. And this is where the other their issue with Garrett Smith, and what I hear from Nashville fans, the fact that he's just too one-dimensional. He's a guy that likes to kind of sit back in a low block and then basically counter. And I think the one thing that he also likes to do is in terms of set pieces. I mean, Nashville has always been a team that has been very good in terms of set pieces. Though this season, not as much as what we've seen in previous year. But still, when you are heavily rely on set pieces and heavily rely on counterattack, it is no wonder why they eventually are getting fined out game after game, where it's pretty easy to play against this Nashville SC team as long as you give them the possession and basically have them have the ball and hope that Hani Mukhtar doesn't go nuclear with it. Then you basically just beat Nashville SC. So that's again is one of the problems with Nashville. And also, even if you do give them the ball and hope that Hani Mukhtar doesn't go nuclear, all you have to do is maybe double or triple team Hani Mukhtar, because again, this is where it goes back to the problem of them not having any attacking threat and any creative threat besides Hani Mukhtar himself. So as a result, they kind of become one-dimensional, and that only the dumbest head coach in that phase Nashville will not realize that all you need to do is just give up possession to Nashville and see if they can break down, because more times or not, they're not going to be able to do that. So moving forward, looking at this Nashville SC team, so obviously they definitely make some move already in this off season. So they of course got a decent replacement in both the midfield and winger position. They decided to let go of Dax McCarty, which I think is the right choice because as much as I know Dax McCarty at time was considered to be an ageless wonder, I do think that they need to have some freshness in terms of the midfield and getting Drew Yearwood is definitely going to help that. I mean, I know Drew Yearwood didn't live up to his potential when he joined the Red Bulls a couple of years ago, but I think he's still a decent replacement, especially for a team that's trying to get younger in the midfield position. And also, it just seems like the Red Bulls in Nashville has this weird kind of relationship where they just like to trade player. There's left and right. Like when you look at this Nashville team, there is a lot of former New York Red Bulls player that used to play for the team in New Jersey. But the other guy that they of course got is Tyler Boyd from LA Galaxy, and I think this is probably the bigger signing. I mean, Tyler Boyd, he is a guy that I've already mentioned. He has a really good work rate, and at time can be a good player in terms of the attacking threat, and that is something that Nashville desperately needed. And I'm not saying that Tyler Boyd is going to be guaranteed to be a guy that can take the weight off of Hani Mukhtar, but he is definitely a guy that I think can at least help Hani Mukhtar in terms of the creative and maybe even the goal scoring part, though, that's a little bit questionable because Tyler Boyd is not known to be a goal scorer unless he decided to hit long range effort or if he's playing against LAFC in an El Trafico because he always tends to score against LAFC in El Trafico and especially scoring those bangers kind of go from outside the box. But again, for a team that desperately need attacking help, getting these two guys and especially getting Tyler Boyd will definitely help, and especially with the amount that they gave up, I feel like that's a steal for them to get him with the amount that they gave up to the LA Galaxy in order to lure him to Nashville SC. But still, despite these additions, it is pretty clear that it's not enough. I mean, they still need some more attacking pieces, and I think the one attacking pieces that they desperately needed is the number 9. And I know when you look at the number 9 depth chart, it looks pretty good on paper until you realize who is actually there in the number 9 spot. I mean, it feels like Sam Surridge is still the main number 9 of this team, followed by Teal Bunbury, and I think Teal Bunbury is actually out of contract, so I don't know if he's going to be available next season. And then after that, you got a couple of super draft picks and guys that are coming from their MLS Next Pro team. So yeah, there is a lot of question mark in terms of that number 9 position. I mean, they really need a number 9, and that is if Sam Surridge does not have a bounce back season and return to his League Cup form, because what we saw in that League Cup with Sam Surridge, that was probably the best that I think Nashville SC has looked in a very long time, and it's no surprise that they look really good as a team when they actually have a guy that can take the pressure off of Hani Mukhtar in terms of the goal scoring. So again, if Sam Surridge is going to be a guy that can do so, if he can be like that 10 or 15 plus goal scorer for this team, maybe they finally found a number 9. But if he's not going to do that, you better believe that Mike Jacob is working the phones and looking for a number 9, and there's going to be even more discontent in the Nashville fan base, the fact that they still don't have it legitimate number 9. And then lastly, they still need some quality depth pieces. Again, as I mentioned, this team does lack in terms of the depth apartment, especially the pieces that they have in depth. It's just nowhere good enough to keep a team to be regularly be a contender in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, there's no doubt that they're gonna make more signing as the season goes along. But let me know in the comments below if you're a Nashville SC fan. What do you think of this video, and what do you think went right, went wrong, and most importantly, moving forward, how is this team gonna look heading into next season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you make sure you leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.